Welcome back to the channel, guys. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Happy Halloween! And today we're going to be checking out every single Halloween movie ever made. We're going to review them all. We're going to rank them all. What is the best Halloween movie? What is the most profitable Halloween movie? And which Halloween did the worst in the box office? Stay tuned because all those questions will be answered. My name is Paul G. This is Paul G's Film Review. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. Chapters are down below if you want to skip forward to a particular movie. And let's get right into it. Let's not waste any time because it's going to be a long one. Let's jump straight into Halloween 1. This film started the slasher genre that we all know and love today, but I think this movie has to be the most terrifying, as Michael Myers represents absolutely nothing. He has no motivations, he just kills for the sake of killing. Well, that was the idea. Let's talk about the budget. From a budget of $300,000 over a 20-day shoot, this film went on to gross $47 million at the US box office in 2008, tracking that would be equal to $150 million today, making Halloween one of the most successful independent films of all time. The budget so low, the dark lighting in the film comes from necessity. The crew did not have enough money to buy more lights, and all of the actors, besides Michael, had to wear their own clothes to set. This film was Jamie Lee Curtis's first film, and before this film, she only starred in a few TV shows. Halloween went on to make her career, and make her the household name that she is today. This film does take a lot of time to get anything happening. After the first couple of scenes of Michael Myers walking around, stalking his sister, killing his sister, breaking out of the asylum, we're introduced to Laurie Strode. And we follow her as she goes about her business, dropping keys off at the old Myers house and talking to Tommy about babysitting him that night and what they're going to do. And we get to meet all her totally annoying friends.
You know, it's totally insane. I'll be totally wiped out.
We totally never show.
Totally charted.
Totally.
Totally.
Totally silly.
Yeah, it's totally dark. She's totally not here. Totally.
But once we finally get the ball rolling on the story and the kills happening, the movie's just kind of over, which isn't a bad thing for a classic film like this. This is what the time was. It's not all up in your face like it is today. This film went on to become a classic and the godfather of slasher films. If you haven't seen Halloween, go back and watch it. I really recommend it. It ticks all the boxes that you want for a good horror film. Halloween, the original, gets 8 out of 10. So that was my thoughts on the first movie. I know it's short and sweet, and that's the way I like to keep it. I don't like to dive into every single scene. That's not my style. So let's keep this train moving, jump on board, because we're going to go dive straight into Halloween 2. Halloween 2 is set on the same night as the first one, but primarily takes place inside the hospital. But did you know Halloween 2 was originally written to take place in a high-rise apartment building, later scrapped in meetings. However, the setting was changed to Haddonfield Hospital. This film had a budget of $2.5 million and made $25.5 million at the box office. This one has a lot of the same problems as the first one. It takes so long before we get any real kills or anything happening. It was nice to see how he got away and everyone looking for him, and everyone finding out what happened that night with all the killings. It really picks up when we get to the last act, starting to see some kills and finding out about Michael and Laurie being related. I really enjoy most of the kills in this film. To be honest, I like most of the kills in most of these films. However, the ending of this particular film is one of the weakest in the series, when the room explodes, with Loomis setting the room to explode and Michael just walking out on fire to just fall over and die. We've seen much better and creative ways they can and will kill Michael, in my opinion. These two films started the slasher genre and the killer always coming back. But for now, Halloween 2 gets a 7.5 out of 10. I don't hate this film, I just found it to be too much like the first film. It's more of a part 2 than a sequel. My thoughts on the second film, guys, but what the hell's that music? What the hell? Oh no.
Halloween 3 Season of Witch. This is and was the very first time of me actually sitting down and watching this film. And how did I find it to be? Well, before we dive into that, this film was the first and only film to not have Michael Myers in the series. John Carpenter did not want to do another film about Michael. He planned to have the first film about Michael Myers, and he wanted a different Halloween-related story each time. But after the first Halloween was such a success, producers forced him to use Michael in the sequel. He did, but then killed off Michael and Loomis to be done with them. Then he produced Season of Witch to get back to his original plan. But at this point, people all over the world were expecting Myers to show up again. So it failed. Carpenter then sold the rights years later because he wasn't interested in doing more Michael Myers movies. The new owners then brought Michaels and Loomis back in 1988, which we'll get to in a minute. And they also explained how they survived. But as for Season of Witch had a budget of $4.6 million, and it only made $14.4 million at the box office. And it starred Tom Atkins as our main character and Dan Hilarily as our main villain. If you have no idea you will be very confused watching it. Lucky for me, I had a bit of an idea. I kind of knew what the plot was and where it was going, and a lot of things that just happened in this film. We started it off as seeing a man run down the street trying to get away from somebody who are trying to kill him. The man is talking about they're going to kill all of them. This man, in fact, does die in the next scene, which sets our main character, Dr. Dan, off on an investigation to investigate Silver Shamrock with Ellie Gimbridge, played by Stacey Nilkich. However, it is not until the 1 hour and 10-minute mark that we finally get some answers to understand why all the kids around America want these Silver Shamrock masks. Side note, these masks are damn cool. I just love the look at all of them. The pumpkin, the skull, the skeleton, the pumpkin, the skeleton, and the witch. These are damn fine, and I kind of wish I knew where I could buy some. I did do some research, and I really couldn't find a good price on them. One day, I do plan to add all 3 of these masks to my collection. So what did I think of this film? For the first time watching it, I found it very boring. And I don't know if it's just a time thing, but I do find a lot of these older movies very boring because nothing really happening. It's just people going to places, talking, and moving on. I won't be going back anytime to watch this film. The masks were cool, the plot was silly, the villain was even sillier. I didn't really enjoy it. Halloween 3 Season of Witch gets a 5.5 out of 10. I'm starting to see a bit of a trend. Each film since the first one has been going lower and lower in the scores. Hopefully this next one can bring us back up, because the next one we're going to be looking at is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Let's get into it. This film starts with no real explanation of how Michael Myers and Dr. Loomis survived. They kind of just briefly touch on it. This is the first film in the series to star Danielle Harris. But I hear you ask, why Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't in this film? Well, Curtis declined and did not want to continue her participation in these films. Although she did return in a few more in the 7th film, which we will get to in a few minutes. As a result, her character was written off and killed off screen, which is briefly explained in the film. The script introduced Laurie Strode's daughter, a 7-year-old daughter, Jamie Lloyd. Did you know a scene was filmed to bridge the story of Halloween 2? It was a flashback to the final part of 2, with the scene where Loomis is being treated by paramedics when he sees the burnt body of the shape, Michael Myers. Loomis explains to the EMTs to let him burn, but they decide to put the flame out on Michael's body. A similar moment occurs in Halloween Kills, with Jamie Lee Curtis's character Laurie saying let him burn after she sets her house on fire, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Another fun fact, Danielle Harris revealed in the 25th Year of Terror, where her character runs through the neighborhood screaming for help. It's a bit later on in the movie. Neighbor, somebody who wasn't on set, legit called the cops. I was banging on doors yelling for somebody to help. Help me, after I got lost trick-or-treating or something. So 4 o'clock in the morning, they're hearing a little girl screaming up the street, and somebody called the cops. The cops came, and then the story ended up in the papers that I was almost kidnapped on offset. Pretty fun fact. This film had a budget of $5 million and only made $17 million at the box office. This is Daniel Harris's movie debut, and what a movie to debut in. From the beginning of this film, as things happen from the first scene, it's intense, fun, and one of the best Halloween movies. The plot of Michael coming back for his niece and ending up with her being the killer was a great twist and surprise for this film. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, is one of the best films in the whole series. What else do I need to say? Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers gets an 8.5 out of 10. Did they follow it up with the next film? Was it worth the wait? Well, before we get into that, I just want to remind you guys to hit that like button and subscribe. Maybe get up, get a stretch, go get some snacks, get a drink, and let's dive straight into the next film. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers was released 1 year after the last installment, and we follow the story up immediately, showing how Michael survived and how Jamie is now hospitalized in a mental institution for killing the lady at the end in the last film. But now she is immune because she had so much trauma from experiencing the acts that she did. But for some reason, in this film, they started to show us that Jamie, Michael's niece, has a connection with Michael. But that isn't the worst part of this. The worst part of this film is this fucking thing. What the fuck is this?
All clear.
Nothing above, nothing below.
What about Max?
Adobe, right?
Why would they try and put this type of a joke in this type of a film? This film did not need 2 jokes in this film. This is meant to be a serious movie, and this is the start of the downfall of the Halloween franchise. This film, Halloween 5, had a budget of $5.5 million and only made $11.4 million at the box office. I have a question though. Multiple times in this movie, you can see Michael in the house and he can see the victims, but for some reason, they can't see him. I find it very strange that you would come down the stairs, turn the corner, and walk down the corridor and not see a man standing in the corner of another room. But did you know, after filming for 2 weeks, Donald Plenis gave his much bigger trailer to Daniel Harris once he left set. Harris's mother had been complaining about the small size of her daughter's trailer. Donald decided that she should have his. Here are 2 more fun facts for you that I found very interesting. Firstly, despite the subtitle The Revenge of Michael Myers, which appears on all movie covers, the DVD cover, the posters, even the advertisement, it does not actually say that title in the film. It actually only says Halloween 5 in the opening credits. And secondly, the scene where Michael drives a car while wearing a different kind of mask was scripted to have him wearing a Ronald Reagan mask. However, the idea of the Reagan mask was soon rejected in order to keep this film diverse from any politics subtext. Dr. Loomis in this film is insane. I don't understand how is it just the fact that in every single film he has to deal with this nonsense that makes him go insane? But the worst thing is that introducing of the man in the black coat. We see him from time to time in different scenes where we just see the coat and a man walk off. Do you think we'll get the answer? Do you think we'll get the payoff to this dumb storyline? Not in this film, but in the next film. But as for this film, this was a downgrade from the last one. Halloween 4 is one of the best Halloween films, and Halloween 5 is most definitely not. It had a bad storyline and mediocre acting. Halloween 5 gets 5.6 out of 10. This is no way a terrible movie, just a mediocre movie. If this wasn't part of the Halloween franchise, if it wasn't Michael Myers as the killer, this would be a perfectly fine movie. Perfectly fine Halloween horror movie. But the fact that you put Michael in this film, put the title Halloween in the title, put this in perspective with the other films, it's just mediocre. Not the worst, mediocre. But let's get down to that burning question that I'm sure all of you are dying to find out. Who was the man in the black trench coat? Who helped Michael get away? Well, let's dive straight into Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. So in my opinion, this film exists for 3 reasons. Reason 1, money. Reason 2, to give Michael Myers more people to kill, since another man was creeping up on his kill total. Reason 3, to give Michael a motivation. I said it already earlier in this video, but Michael is more scary when he doesn't have a motivation. I don't care about him killing his sisters. I don't care about him going after people who are related to him. I don't care about him going after people who live in his home. This film does not need, and no other film needs to give Michael Myers a motive. This film didn't need to exist at all. I just found it hard to care about any of these new characters that we're introduced to. Our main character, Carrie Ann Strode, played by Marianne Hagen, and Tommy Doyle, all grown up from the first film. But in this time, he's played by Paul Rudd. But did you know Paul Rudd wasn't the first choice for the producers? The first choice was Brian Andrews, who played the original Tommy Doyle back in the original Halloween movie. However, Andrews didn't have an agent at the time, so they couldn't get a contract to him, and in part went with Paul Rudd instead. Andrews has stated since that he regrets missing the opportunity, but he did go on to reprise his role as Tommy in a later film. But we'll get to that one. But at the time, he had retired from acting, and Rudd had a scheduling conflict with another movie, so he took this role instead. Sadly, this will be the last film that Donald Pleasence ever shot. He passed before the film could even get to reshoots. But did you know, in this particular film, this is the first film that Dr. Loomis and Michael share no scenes together at all, making this film the only film to have both characters in it but never share or have any interactions. This film had a budget of $5 million and only made $15 million at the box office. What else can I say about this film? This film is just boring. It's bland. I don't care about the plot. I don't care about this man in the black trench coat. This movie is just terrible. There's just nothing to it. It's weird. The set pieces were good, I'll give it that, but the acting was bad, the story was bad. Overall, Halloween 6 is just a bad film overall. Even if it wasn't in this franchise, there's no saving it. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, gets 4.5 out of 10. And we have reached the part of the video where I need to talk to you about timelines, because this last movie ends the first timeline of the series. There are 4 different timelines. There is this timeline, the H2O timeline, the Rob Zombie timeline, and the 2018 timeline. Going forward, everything else that we've just talked about doesn't really matter. But to find out if killing this timeline was a good idea, we need to jump into the next film. And the next film on our list is Halloween H2O. Like I just got done saying, this is the first film to change the timeline up. There's no more Jamie, but this movie takes place after Halloween 2. So Halloween 2 and Halloween 1 is still canon. The rest of the series is not. Therefore, we bring back Laurie Strode. This time, she has moved far, far away, from Haddonfield all the way to California, changing her name in the process to Carrie Tate, and has become a headmistress of a school. But in this film, we ditch her daughter. Her daughter Jamie does no longer exist. She now has a son named John. Why couldn't we just keep Jamie? Why couldn't we just have Daniel Harris as Jamie and have Jamie and Laurie share scenes together in this film? I think that would have made this film much better. We didn't need her son. We could have had her daughter. To start this film off, I need to talk about one of the best things I've ever seen. The smartest person I've ever seen in any horror movie. She walks up to her door, opens it a little bit, and sees that shit's gone wrong. And instead of entering, she leaves. When she finally gets inside, she finds out that somebody has ransacked her house and have found paperwork regarding Dr. Loomis. I think this is how Michael figures out Laurie Strode is still alive, but has moved to California, because for the next few scenes we watch and see Michael make his way from Haddonfield to California. H2O had a budget of $17 million and made $75 million at the box office. Quite impressive. But why the hell would they, with a budget of $17 million, have a goddamn CGI mask? It looks goofy as fuck. And I really hope that it was just that one scene, because the actual mask in this film is one of the better ones out of the whole franchise. But do you want to know something that's not goofy? This whole film, besides being the CGI mask, this film is a definitely giant upgrade from the last couple of films that we've experienced. I love movies where we leave our natural habitat to go to another place. Like this film, we leave Haddonfield, we leave Michael Myers' home, and we go to California, a school campus. I think the school campus was on point. Perfect spot for this movie to take place. Michael is on point. The story's actually kind of scary. But did you know Jamie Lee Curtis considers this film a thank you note to her fans? She said, without the earlier movies in her career, she truly didn't know if she would be an actor today. Like I said, Halloween H2O is one of the better films. The kills are more scarier. The story has more impact. But I still think, sitting here in 2024 and going back to watch Halloween H2O is a good idea. It's one of the better Halloween movies. And Halloween H2O gets a respectable 7 out of 10. It's a real shame. It's a real shame that in this timeline we've got 4 movies. We got Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween H2O. But unfortunately, this film is followed up by Halloween Resurrection. I'm going to spoil something, because if you've made it to this point, I'm going to let you know at the end of me reviewing all these films, I'm going to rank them all. And the next film is one of the worst. But why is it one of the worst? Well, we're going to have to dive right in to find out why Halloween Resurrection is so bad. So we start this film off with a backstory on how Michael Myers survived, because in the last film we witnessed Laurie Strode cut his head off. How did Michael survive? Well, Michael changed out of his normal outfit and put his normal outfit on a paramedic. So Laurie Strode killed a paramedic instead. When everybody finds this out, she is placed in a mental institution back in Haddonfield for some reason. Weird. However, like every other film, Michael Myers finds out that she's still alive and where she is. But this time, we come to the end of Laurie Strode, because in very short order, Michael kills a few guards and then finally kills Laurie Strode, which sets us on a path to begin this whole film with a new character, Sarah, played by Bianca Catchledge. Halloween Resurrection was released in 2002, and at the time, reality shows was a big hit. So therefore, Halloween Resurrection took a storyline of having a reality show where contestants have to stay a night in the old Michael Myers home. This plot revolving around Michael Myers' home and contestants spending a night here isn't the worst idea in the world. It's actually a kind of fun idea. To me, kind of like an escape room. Most of the action of this film wasn't as bad. Some of it is very noticeable. It's very early 2002. If you've watched any movie from the early 2000s, you know what I mean. The acting is very weird. But what's really good about this film is watching Michael kill everyone, and then finding out that Michael is still alive and Michael's in the house with him. However, the worst part of this film is fucking Busta Rhymes. Why the hell did they put him in this film? There is no reason for him to be in this film. Is it just because of his name? Did his name mean so much in 2002? But the one thing that this film does that annoys me to no bitter end is having Busta Rhymes kill him at the end with karate. What the absolute shit. But did you know the first name for this film was actually titled Halloween: The Homecoming? But producers wanted a title that said Michael Myers is alive. So in February 2002, the film was officially named Halloween Resurrection. Jamie Lee Curtis was quoted saying that she considers this film a joke, and John Carpenter has stated that this movie made him cringe so bad. In my opinion, this film has a good concept, a good plot, but badly executed. Halloween Resurrection had a budget of $15 million and made, at the box office, $37.6 million. The fact that they had Busta Rhymes do karate to kill Michael Myers at the end is just a cherry on top of this shit sundae. Halloween Resurrection gets a 4 out of 10. And with that, we end another timeline. I want to thank you so much if you've been sitting here this whole time watching this video. It means the world to me. I want you to please like the video if you made it to this point. The last film was released in 2002, and 5 years later it was rebooted under a different director. With the blessing of John Carpenter, Rob Zombie took the offer up, and he made his own vision and made Halloween 2007 a reality. Did it live up to hype? Did it live up to John Carpenter's version? Well, to find those questions out, we're going to have to dive right into it. So let's dive into Halloween 2007. In life, there's always a question when someone is just pure evil. Was it nurture or nature? And in this film, they try to answer that question. In Mr. Rob Zombie's version, it was nature. As in, Michael Myers' family was very toxic, with an abusive stepfather, a mean-ass sister, a stripper mother, and a poor little baby. In this version, Michael Myers didn't grow up in the best environment. He was also bullied at school and eventually pushed to the breaking point. In Rob Zombie's version, we spend a long time doing a backstory on Michael and his early years, his upbringing, his background, his overall murders, what pushed him to the point where he started killing his whole family. We witness him kill his stepfather and his sister. And after we get done doing the backstory at the hour mark of this film, we're introduced to this version's Dr. Sam Loomis and Laurie Strode, played by Malcolm McDonald and Taylor Compton. Also, making her return to the franchise, the lovely and pretty Danielle Harris, who plays Laurie Strode's best friend Annie. But if you know anything about Rob Zombie and the way he makes films, you will know that this film, like the rest of his films, has a lot of sex, swearing, and lots of blood. This film is very violent, which I think is a good suit for the Halloween franchise. This Halloween movie was the very first Halloween film that I personally ever saw. But when I first saw it, I didn't know, but I do now, that Dr. Loomis' portrayal in this movie is completely and utterly wrong. It's very annoying. He is very up himself. He doesn't care about his patients. He only cares about Loomis. He's not very Loomis, if you know what I mean. I can respect the character change, I just don't like it. And in the end, I'm not rooting for him to come out alive. And in fact, nearly every character in this movie is very insufferable. There's two people in this film that are actually likable. Annie, played by Danielle Harris, and her father, the sheriff. Everybody else is insufferable, and I do not like them. Halloween 2007 had a budget of $15 million and made $80 million. But did you know the inclusion of the plotline about Michael Myers' early day at the mental asylum under the care of Sam Loomis is a nod to a plotline added by John Carpenter for the TV version of the original Halloween. As told by Carpenter, when the original film was first sold to television, they demanded to added scene to replace the editing plot of his murder scene. So Carpenter recalled the original Sam Loomis to film scenes of him at the hospital taking care of Michael. I really like this film. I like the little details as we personally go along in this film. I like how Michael Myers slowly but surely gets dirtier and dirtier, and the mask and weapons that he uses get dirtier and dirtier. Halloween 2007 is not by any means the worst movie. It's not even the worst remake, because they did remake all the classic slasher movies, and Halloween is not the worst one out of them all. Halloween 2007, the remake, gets 7.5 out of 10. In very short order, Rob Zombie was given permission to come back and do a sequel. How did Halloween 2 measure up to this one? Well, to find out, we're going to dive in to Halloween 2. So, Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie version, is like a car crash. It's got so many problems, but where do we start this movie off? We start the problems off at the very start. We start this film off where the last one left off. The same night, Laurie Strode is walking down the street and is stopped by the sheriff to take her to the hospital, paying homage to the 2 original films. But after the hospital scene, after finding out that Michael Myers is still alive, we do a time skip. We see that everybody is now even more insufferable than the last film. Yay! Things that we like. Laurie Strode is now living with the sheriff and her friend. And we get to the first problem of this film. Laurie Strode herself is an actual bitch in this film. I find it very hard to believe that she would act this way. The way that she is in this film, defiant, and just in the fact that the way she acts towards everybody. Besides the sheriff and Annie in this film, everybody is completely rude. And all it does is make me, the viewer, want to see Michael Myers show up and kill them all. But one of the worst characters of all time is, in fact, this version's Dr. Loomis. He has become a total dick who gives no shits about anyone but himself and making a few dollars along the way, exploiting not just Michael, but the events of the last film. The other problem about this film is it's so dark. I want to not just hear the movie, I want to see the movie. But I don't want to act like this movie is complete and total dog shit, because there are some good things going on here. I really like the way that Michael is portrayed in this film. I like to imagine that he would be a hobo. He would be killing animals to feed, and look the way he does. I also like the fact that when he is walking around without the mask on, he's just a regular old hobo. But once it's time to kill, he puts the mask on and shapes into a different character. Well, most of the kills in this film, well, at least the ones you can see, are very good. Michael Myers seeing his mother is an interesting plot, and following her all the way back to town to reunite the whole family is an interesting plot. To seeing how the town also deals with the fallout from the last movie is very fantastic. However, it would go to underperform at the box office, only grossing $39.4 million worldwide against a $15 million budget. Rob Zombie declined to return to film another sequel. The next installment was entitled Halloween 3D, was cancelled in 2012, making Halloween 2 the final film to be filmed by Dimensions Films. But did you know production of this film was very troubling, as Rob Zombie frequently clashed with the Weinsteins, who were difficult to work with when they interfered, and 2 weeks of shooting was slashed from the schedule on the first day of filming, forcing Rob Zombie to tear out pages and pages of his script. He would not be able to film otherwise. One more fun fact for you guys. Rob Zombie originally stated he would never do a sequel to his Halloween 2007 movie, which is why he had Laurie fatally shot Michael Myers at point blank range in the face in the first film. When the studio decided to make one anyway, they offered the job to a French director, Xander Pastillo, Julie Moulier, based on their strengths of their horror movie Insidious, which was also released in 2007. As a fan of Rob Zombie's work, they were honoured to extend his version, and their idea was basically to follow the same type of plot from the original Halloween 2, with added scenes of Michael's time at the Smith's Grove, revealing in their version that Charles Brackett was always Laurie Strode's real father. However, Rob Zombie eventually developed some ideas for a sequel, so he signed on to write and direct one more. He didn't want someone else to ruin his vision. The other two French directors was fired, but their concept of Michael Myers' insanity weighed onto other people was kept in the final script. Sadly, we never went on to see a third movie from Rob Zombie. So this is how Rob Zombie's timeline ends with Halloween 2. Halloween 2 gets a 5 out of 10. I wish we could have seen one more from Mr. Rob Zombie. with that said, I just want to remind you to get up, stretch. If you've watched this in one sitting, why, for starters? And second off, thank you. Go fill up your drinks, get a snack, and come straight back, because we're going to dive into the last timeline. And we start that off with Halloween 2018 is the start of this new timeline, and it follows from the original movie. I absolutely love Halloween 2018. This was the first and only Halloween film that I ever went and saw in theaters. It has the best storylines, the best cinematography, the best acting, the best casting, the best sound, the best set pieces, but most importantly, my favorite scene in any horror movie ever. It's the lawn take. About 30 minutes into the film, we witness Michael Myers get stopped by a kid, and he starts doing the lawn take, where he walks to the back of the shed, gets the hammer, walks into the house, kills the lady, and it's just glorious. It's a very long take, and I really enjoy long takes in movies. And I also think that Laurie Strode in this movie is the correct way, the correct response to what happened to her in the original movie. This is the correct response to how somebody should react. The thing about this film is that it builds sorrow for every character, because I really genuinely feel bad for nearly every single character. I don't really want to see Michael kill most of them. Well, at least the main ones. And for the first time, I want to see somebody stop Michael Myers. Halloween 2018 had a budget of $10 million and went on to make $260 million worldwide, making this the most profitable Halloween movie of all time. But did you know that the role of Allison, Laurie Strode's granddaughter, became somewhat of a covenant role? Multiple popular actresses like Lucy Hale and Emma Robertson met with Danny McBride. Yes, Danny McBride. That Danny McBride. To personally talk about the movie. However, the studio decided that they wanted to go back to the roots of the first movie and cast an unknown actress, similar to how Jamie Lee Curtis was cast in the original film. 2018 has the familiar faces return and many new ones that are obvious. Jamie Lee Curtis reprising her roles, but this time she has a daughter. Her daughter is played by Judy Greerdak, and a granddaughter played by Andy Makachak, in which all of them play their roles perfectly. I highly recommend you go out of your way to watch this film. If you haven't seen it, fuck it. Even if you have seen it, go watch it again, because it's damn good. Halloween 2018 is my favorite Halloween movie, and it gets a 9 out of 10. And at the end, we witness the girls lock Michael in the house and set it on fire and escape. With that, it takes us right into the second film in this trilogy, Halloween Kills. And we are inching closer and closer to the end, ladies and gentlemen. We have 2 movies left. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into Halloween Kills. Halloween Kills. This film shows us why mobs are not always a great idea. The movie really lives up to the name, because I do believe this has the most kills in the whole franchise. But I feel like something must die. Do you know what it is?
Evil dies tonight!
Evil dies tonight!
All right,
Oh, evil dies tonight? After hearing that majority of this movie, you get over it very, very quickly. Having a chant like this was not a good idea. You know what else wasn't a good idea? Benching Laurie Strode. She is in the hospital bed for a majority of this movie. What a waste of potential. This film had a budget of $133 million and only made $20 million at the box office. My favorite scene in this whole film is near the very, very end, where the mob thinks they have Michael Myers surrounded, and they all start beating on him and thinking they might have the upper hand. And I thought it was like watching a wrestling match, where we start rooting for Michael to get back up, and when he does, he kills them all in very short order. And it is glorious to watch that every time. There is plenty to hate and plenty to love in Halloween Kills. But did you know, early in the movie, the wagon stolen by Michael Myers from Dr. Loomis at Smith's Grove in the original Halloween movie can be seen parked behind a young Hawkins, one of the flashbacks to the original movie. Plus, did you know that Paul Rudd was offered to reprise his role as Tommy Doyle, but due to scheduling conflict with the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie, he had to decline. So the original actor from the original movie came back to reprise his role. Every time I come back to watch Halloween 2018, I have to watch this one straight after. It's a necessity. Halloween Kills is one of the best films. It goes into why normal civilians shouldn't take it into their own hand and let law enforcement deal with it. If you haven't seen Halloween Kills or Halloween 2018, go out of your way to watch them both after watching this. Halloween Kills gets an 8 out of 10. I really, really, really love this film. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. We are finally up to the last film. And it is titled very appropriately, Halloween Ends. But before we jump into it, I just want to say thank you if you watched this whole video. I know I've been saying it a lot, but just hit that like button. It would mean the world to me. Let's not waste any more time than we already have, and let's jump straight into Halloween Ends. At the start of the film, we are introduced to Corey, played by Rohan Campbell. And for some silly reason, they decided to bench Michael fucking Myers. Why on God's green earth would you make a Halloween movie and then not have Michael Myers as the main bad guy? Whose idea was that? For some reason, we should give a shit about Corey being the new main bad guy. If they introduced him in one of the other films, it would be worth it. It might actually be better. But they introduced him in this film, and they think we care because he accidentally killed a kid, and the whole town hates him. I don't understand. You had it perfectly. Halloween 2018, perfect. Halloween Kills, not bad, pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good. And then Halloween Ends, goddamn awful. This is meant to be the end. Jamie Lee Curtis came out and stated that this is it. This is her final Halloween movie. Why would you not only just bench Michael, but pretty much sideline Laurie in this film too, just to care about this Corey fella? We don't care. As an audience member, we don't care about Corey, and it shows. They tried really, really hard in this film to make us care, to show that the town's mean to him because he accidentally killed a little kid. But I couldn't care less, man. I personally just wanted to see Michael Myers. I personally just wanted to see Michael show up and kill a bunch of people. That's it, man. I've seen this movie one time before sitting down to watch it a second time for this video. I don't understand why they took Michael, put him underground, and turned him into an old bitch of a man. Like he's a killer. In the last two films, he destroyed people. He would get bashed and shot and stabbed, and he would get back up. But Corey can push him over and take his mask, and that's it. That's it. This movie, in fact, makes me so mad. And Halloween Ends grossed $105 million against a $33 million budget. I really hate this film. I hate the fact that Michael shows up with 20 minutes left of this film just to have a showdown with Laurie Strode, which isn't even very good. This was meant to be like an epic fight, an epic battle, but it was underwhelming. It was boring. And the fact that she just kills him, straps him to the car, takes him to the junkyard, and throw him in and chip him all up, this is not the end that I wanted to see for not just this trilogy, but for Jamie Lee Curtis. It's very unfortunate that this film had to end this way, and it's very unfortunate that this timeline had to end this way, because this is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the end of not just the Halloween timeline, but the end of the Halloween franchise as we know it. Halloween will be back. They will make a new one. They will bring Michael Myers back. They will have a new Laurie Strode. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but this film, Halloween Ends, gets a 6 out of 10. It's a shame that this film wasn't good. This could have been an amazing trilogy.
That's it. That's every single Halloween movie reviewed. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I hope you were entertained. For those who want to see my ranking, it's right here. This is it. This is the best ranking of any Halloween movies you'll ever see. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you made it to this end, please consider liking. Please consider subscribing. Why don't you tell me down in the comment section which Halloween movie you like? And also, do you like these styles of videos? Because I'm open to doing these again. I'm open to do maybe a Freddy or a Jason, Leatherface. Whatever you guys want. I'm open to doing other films too. Other franchises. So let me know, do you like these type of videos? Make sure you go and follow me on all social media. All links are down below. I hope you guys had an amazing Halloween. But until next time, guys, be well, stay safe, have yourselves a beautiful day. Until next time, I'll catch you guys soon.